What is up, YouTube? My Cowboys family here, bringing you guys the latest update on our very own Dallas Cowboys. And of course, as always, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Take a second to hit like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, follow us anywhere and everywhere at My Cowboys Family, and of course, hop in the Discord. Link for that's in the description box down below.
Brand new week right here, My Cowboys Family. I know we didn't go yesterday. There wasn't much going on. Really not much going on either today, but much more to kind of wrap up for you guys for our Dallas Cowboys as we get ready for an interesting week. And I would say the next couple of weeks will be interesting before a little bit of break, and then training camp. Yeah, it's already around the corner.
I know. I can't believe it.
Closer and closer. So, baby, before we get rolling, we got a new week to discuss some of the family members here rocking the top spots. New names spread all across the board. And, even some of the leaders for this week. So before I go any farther, let's announce them. And starting off with the sponsor of the week.
Thank you very much. A big mahalo to Marco Sepian. He is representing as the sponsor of the week and bossing that stream around fully loaded, at least, for right another few seconds here, if my eyes don't deceive me.
Yes, and Mark. 100 points on that stream ball. It's going to be 98 in a minute, I think.
Yes. And, of course, shout out to the Cash App Queen, Gloria.
Gloria.
Representing there on the Cash App side of things.
That might be her first time, I think, representing on that board.
I think so.
Yeah, so congrats to Gloria. Mainly on the After Dark music session side of things, but appreciate her. She does say, "Go Cowboys."
And
so appreciate her. Oh, and there it goes.
Perfect timing there, because the man, Skeptical Fan, is not only dropping a $2 holler, but he's also the membership gifting king. Thank you so much to Skeptical Fan. Representing there.
Yes, he did win the gifting crownage last week, and he dropped 2 to get a good little head start this week, although we had a couple of people getting a head start on Sunday night, Monday. But much love to Skeptical Fan with that, hey you, looks like a wave over here. And of course, he did gift the membership today as well, pre-stream.
Yes, he did. So shout out to Ramon and Carolina Jones.
Yeah, congrats to them.
Being the lucky winner there.
Yes, they did get put into the membership of the Navy Blue Crew side of things, all because of Skeptical Fan. So again, much love to the man staying skeptical, who currently on this board, right now, he had to give the membership. At the end of the stream last on Sunday, we had Jason Renfro give a last-second membership, which went to this week. So we have a tie for first place. Right now, Jason had 5 weeks in a row. Skeptical Fan broke the streak. He's the king right now. But they're both, Jason Renfro and Skeptical Fan, currently starting off this brand new week, tied with 1 gifted membership apiece. We'll see if Skeptical goes back-to-back like our 90s Cowboys. And does Jason regain his power and would go, 6 out of the last 7 weeks of domination? So we'll see what happens on that side. You see the leaderboard and the Cash App King are going to be the same people this week here. And it currently is, multi-super Kalo. But I'll say super cockle. That's what we say on the After Dark session. But much love to Super over there, multi-super. Appreciate you. And yeah, currently he is in first place in the Cash App because of the After Dark sessions and some music requests and shots to be taken. Shots. And of course, the overall board. He's still currently on the first place spot with in second place Kirk Burning and Sco971 tied for second. You also have Jason Renfro, who, like I said, gifted a membership, who I think is currently in fifth place. But in fourth place, you got the man staying skeptical currently right now after the membership gifting, I guess a membership gift to one of the family members in the chat. Yeah. And, of course, the $2 on top of that, kicking off a brand new week here on My Cowboys Family. So far, we got a lot of new names on these boards. We'll see who either takes over or maybe, maybe we see some of the same names continuing their dominance here through this week into next. So, baby, before we get going into the Cowboy news, info, and updates, there's a bunch of ways of dropping the love here on My Cowboys Family. You can do it through the super chat. You can see there. You can drop it into the thanks button after any video or live stream posts. There's ways of dropping it there. There's also membership. You can jump in the membership. And much love to those that are in there right now, whether on your own or by being gifted memberships. Those that are in the membership are able to gift memberships, like you just saw there, pre-stream by Skeptical Fan, and at the end of the last stream by Jason Renfro. So thank you guys on that side of things. That's through the YouTube side. What about through the other way, which really affects the Cash App Crown side of things, as well as the overall board?
You have, of course, the Cash App money sign My Cowboys Family, the Venmo at My-Cowboys-Family, the regular PayPal link, and last but not least, the Streamlabs link lets your comment show up on screen just like a super chat would.
That's right. And, a lot of these people, when we talk about membership, we talk about the Navy Blue crew, the Silver Level 2, but then you got the Star and Over Everything, which are our top shelf membership. And again, as you guys know, there's always a monthly raffle for them. As you just saw now, we just had Mark Hosepian win. He gets thrown into this raffle as well at the end of this month, the end of May.
That's right. The weekly winners are also included.
Yep. So congrats to everybody who wins the 4 weeks of this month, and you'll get thrown into that raffle, getting memberships in there. I mean, not memberships, but raffle entries in that. But anybody in the Star Level or Over Everything level membership, you will get automatic entry into this thing. Star Level and Over Everything gets 2, by the way, entries. Star Level gets 1 entry. But baby, every night, another big perk outside of that raffle for this group is the nightly shout-outs, because they rep this board here with us. They rep this channel. Keep it going. Rep them for me, baby. Shout them out. Of course.
Thank you very much, Skeptical Fan, Jason Renfro, Lincoln Kane, Dwayne Broussard, Marissa Sparkle, Choctaw Montana 808, The Lunatic, and Over Everything, Sea Bass.
Hell yeah.
Woo.
The crew's in the house. So, baby, now that we're past all this, let's do the final part of things before we get into the news and discussions today of our Cowboys. Let's get to the shout-outs. Who's in the house tonight? Ready to talk some Cowboy football?
Of course, we have Rolando Rodriguez all the way from South Texas. What's up? A big aloha and mahalo to the sponsor of the week, Stream Boss, Mark Hosepian.
Much love to the man from Hawaii.
Even you, Eastside Herald, I guess you
creeping around.
Get a little shout-out. So Ramon and Carolina Jones, much love, by the way. And, congrats to you there with that gifted membership.
Yeah, big shout-outs.
Skeptical Fan, of course, always. Staying skeptical.
Always.
We have Scorpio in the house. What's up? Daniel Berry Sports, thanks for rocking with us. We have, let me see who else is here. MCF After Dark. I wonder who that is.
Yeah, you want to check it out for the after party. Don't forget that. I don't give out the stream. You guys got to find it on your own.
That's right. Freedom First. Looks like you were first tonight.
There he goes.
JD from DC.
Hell yeah. Repping an enemy territory. Much love to JD from DC in the house. Part of the membership crew.
Appreciate you. And of course, I think we might have knocked some people over at the Feather, actually going live as early as we have tonight. So, as more people trickle in, I'll make sure to keep rolling with the shout outs. But for now, baby, what's been going on with our Cowboys and the NFL and the news and everything else? So,
yeah, let's get it rolling, I guess. NFL news. Let me put it on here. NFL news. It's interesting to note that today there was the spring league meeting in the NFL, and NFL executive Peter O'Reilly confirmed that Australia Yes, Australia. We have our fans on After Dark from Australia. Australia is among a set of markets that the NFL is considering for international games in the future. The NFL, of course, they also recently launched an academy in Australia. So, right now the distance and logistics, this is the major issue with...
It's Australia.
Yeah, it's far. The weather is different, and also, of course, just to imagine traveling. And we've traveled, there's been some preseason games to Asia and stuff like that. So it's possible. It's preseason. A regular season game in the middle of a week and, day and a half flight. It's just going to be, that's going to be interesting to see how they pull it off. But they are considering that, Australia is a set for some international games. Now, it may be preseason, but we'll have to wait and see what the NFL comes up with. Distance, logistics, part of the issue there. Now, with NFL also, this is interesting, they named Stephanie Kwok, as the new vice president head of flag football. That's what it's called.
Cool.
It's a position in a sport, of course, with a rising profile. So keep an eye on that. NFL will be pushing, flag football a lot more, as a safe alternative for those that don't play it, for the big bucks in the NFL and college and stuff like that, try to get to the NFL. Through college. So again, they are definitely going hard with the flag football.
Keeping people into football without, all the kind of quote unquote dangers of football.
Yeah. Now, other changes and moves by the NFL. We were talking about the implementation of a kind of a sensor system when it came to first downs and touchdowns on the football to the goal line, that kind of stuff. NFL decided to not implement this electronic system. They're not going to do it to measure first downs for this upcoming year. It was supposed to be tried out for this season. They had tried out for the Super Bowl and some other, just as in the background. Some of the playoff games, some of the other games in the season, and some of the stadiums, they had tried it out, and so they're still going to give it a little more time. I think a little more trial time behind the scenes because the NFL did state that they're going to continue testing this system in stadiums across the NFL for possible future use.
Okay.
But right now, it's going to be the sticks and chains, the chain gang there, moving it back and forth, measuring the first downs, by the spot of the ball, that kind of stuff. No sensors, no chip in the football or on the pylons in the end zone or the first down marker. So that's going to come in the future. Not yet. The NFL has already been testing this system, guys. I said this last year, measuring the first downs on some stadium. I think it was MetLife Stadium, and for the Super Bowl, they did it. But they're going to basically do another testing season in more stadiums in this 2024 season. But right now, there are no firm plans yet to use it. The expectation is it will be utilized in the near future. So the future was supposed to be now when it came to this. Not so. Not going to happen.
I guess maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe next year. So NFL owners, though, today also approved a rule limiting the length of head coaching interviews with candidates whose teams are still in the playoffs. This thing's been going back and forth for the last couple of years. We've had a bunch of coaching kind of changes when it comes to the way the coaches would be allowed to talk to other teams or to discuss things while that team's in the playoffs. So when you see that happening, you see Dan Quinn, getting a little bit of like a little I guess you could say insulation from other coaching offers or interviews, which was actually that way this year. He wasn't able to take interviews till the Cowboys were out. So they had changed that rule already some, but now it seems like they are now going to even limit that length of time of head coaches can have interviews with teams in the playoffs even more so. So NFL executive Jonathan Bean said that before there was no limit, now there's going to be a limit of how many interviews you can have and how many hours it can be. Now, such interviews can be a maximum of 3 hours only. That's it. So it's you're going to have a certain
set. So you basically can't just spend an entire day whining and dining a
right.
coach type
Correct.
thing.
Yeah, it can't be like Cowboys like to do somebody in the Dallas. If their team is still in the playoffs, you cannot bring them in and just wine them and dine them for an entire day and a half. Now it has to be 3 hours and you're done. That's if that team is still in the playoffs. So now, if the interview is in person, they said it has to be in a location of the employer's club or a place satisfactory to the employer's club. All right, so it's got to be like if someone's trying to take Dan Quinn, right? When it had to be somewhere that it is okay for the Cowboys to have Dan Quinn meet with Washington or somebody if they were interviewing him. So again, Bean said that some of these candidates told stories of 6 to 7 hour interviews. So again, that would really interfere with, like, if Dan Quinn was trying to coach the Cowboys, but he got a 7-hour interview with the Washington Commanders. I mean, I'm not saying that's an excuse. He's got to be better than that if he's going to take those interviews.
That's basically a whole day loss.
Yeah, and that's these guys are trying to get together for a playoff game here. So that is obviously a distraction. Obviously, they're trying to cut it down to 3 hours per meeting, and these new rules are aimed at allowing coaches to focus more on winning than the new job they're going to get, which, of course, too late for our Cowboys, at least against the Packers and Dan Quinn last year. Whether it's his fault or not, I don't think Dan Quinn was trying to blow the game. I just think he mishandled it with the people that we had, with the personnel that we had, with the light linebackers we had. And some of that is on him. Some of it is on, the front office in some ways. Anyways, front office. Another NFL type of news here. NFL has to approve some new kind of minority owners. All right, so the Falcons owner and chairman, Arthur Blank, announced the addition of 4 limited partners to the organization, basically their group. And it's going to be Rosalind Brewer, who's, I think, part of the Walgreens Corporation, Dominique Dawes, which is, if you guys know, Olympic gold medalist, Will Packer, film and TV producer, and Rashawn Williams, a venture capitalist. But for actual minorities too, not just the minority owners, but also minorities, which is great to see. The Falcons really been good at that. Arthur Blank, who's really good at really hiring a lot of blacks and different minorities into the organization. Good for him. And I don't think he's just doing it for DEI, that kind of stuff. I think he really wants to commit to his organization and the community to represent them, So
I agree.
I love that Arthur Blank is ahead of the time, even though he's an old owner and all that stuff.
Yeah, too bad that isn't reflected at all in the way that his team ends up actually doing.
Yeah, that's true. And he's also been partially, made some mistakes as well as an owner, but that happens, right? Anyways, good job by him. Now, it still has to be approved, by the way, by the NFL. Enough NFL stuff. As far as the rules and stuff, there's these spring meetings. I expect more of these kind of changes to be announced this week sometime. So when you go back to the situation with the wide receiver side of things, we'll start with not even the wide receiver, but start with the criminal side of things when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice. The person that was injured, that was beat up, punched in the face, the photographer that was allegedly beat up or punched in the jaw on May 6th. He was called back to this club, and Rashee Rice punched him out. This happened in the Dallas nightclub. So reportedly, he has asked the police to not file charges. I'm assuming Rashee Rice probably gave him a little cash money.
You have to imagine.
And he just said, I'm not going to bother pressing any charges. And that was that. Now, Aaron Rodgers, we're talking about going around the league a little bit. Some of these teams out there, they already started their OTAs. A lot of these teams out there already had started OTAs. They were, this was started yesterday. Today, our Cowboys started the OTAs. But Aaron Rodgers yesterday was asked about his brand new left tackle, former Cowboy left tackle Tyron Smith. And Aaron Rodgers said, quote, "It's great having him next to me in the locker room. I've been a fan of his for a long time. He's a Hall of Fame player. He's a specimen. He's a big, strong man. Not a fat man either. He's pretty chiseled." And as we know here in Dallas, we know Tyron Smith has always been like a chiseled freaking Greek god.
Most offensive linemen are obviously on the bigger and thicker side. He was very well defined, like you said.
Yeah, and that's even in his later years, as it is now. Even Aaron Rodgers is saying that. But now let's go to Aaron Rodgers, and I'm going to kind of keep it with the theme of left tackle or tackle position, Aaron Rodgers, and even Tyron Smith and the Cowboys, because now there's no Tyron Smith, right? He's with the Packers, and Aaron Rodgers left the Packers last year, go to the Jets. What about former All-Pro Packer left tackle David Bakhtiari? Now listen. I know this was a couple, before the draft, we talked about maybe bringing him on, and that. It's kind of like a Jason Peters kind of guy. I still say we can use him. And let me just say, and this is why I'm saying this, it depends on his health. So when it comes to Bakhtiari, who now we have an update on him right now, what's going on with him. Now, after the draft, of course, we have, Tyler Guyton. So we are fine at left tackle. That guy's our starter. That is it. Bakhtiari is not coming in to be a starter. But he is currently recovering from some knee surgeries, right? Had a positive follow-up exam with Dr. Brian Cole, and they basically proclaimed him that he is definitely on schedule for a 2024 season return. So he should be good to go for when the season starts. Now, this Dr. Cole is the chairman of orthopedics at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago, and the chairman of surgery of Oak Park Hospital. He ain't just some schmucko that's just, just trying to give you good positive word. This guy has a lot of reputation behind him. So it sounds like David Bakhtiari will be ready to play. I believe if he's willing to take a backup role, be a good swing tackle type of guy, someone who could beat out someone like Chuma Edoga off the team. Who's here
Easily.
with no guaranteed money. So again, if he's healthy, when he's healthy, Bakhtiari is still one of the NFL's best. He can still produce as one of the best left tackles. That's the problem, though. He's not usually 100%. But when he is, he's still up there. Now, when his knee issues have limited him last year to only one game last year. But it seems like he's tracking and ready to play in 2024. So at least we'll keep an eye on that when it comes to the offensive line side of things. Now, let's keep it moving, I guess. We're going to go right to the quarterback subject, I guess you can say. And of course, when you talk quarterbacks, it comes to our quarterback, Dak Prescott.
Cowboys are trying to get a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to extend him. Are we going to extend? There was the faith fight finish, the gala there that Dak had, and we had the
Jerry just happened to be within a reasonable amount of distance with him and Dak's agent, of course.
Yep.
So basically, they're just kind of saying, hey, first time they've been together that we know of.
Yeah, and this off season, face to face. So either way, we don't really know what happened. It's not even important because we knew it wasn't. They're not talking contract, but let me talk about other contracts, like Trevor Lawrence. We talked about him a couple days ago, and him being in the $50 million range. Jacksonville is already in talks with him, in current talks. So. Again, when it comes to Trevor Lawrence, people like Dan Orlovsky, he don't really like Dak too much. He said, quote, "There's no way that we can sit here and say he deserves elite money right now." When it comes to someone like Trevor Lawrence. And I agree.
That's a fair point.
And, you could have said that about Dak even back when he got his $40 million. Doug Peterson said this about Trevor Lawrence and an extension, possible extension, quote, "Obviously, the sooner you get it done, it's behind everybody, and now we can focus on football. So that's not lingering, and it's not out there." And that basically he's just trying to say the faster we get a deal done, we don't have to talk about it at these freaking press conferences. Yep. I mean, we, as Cowboy fans, have heard this for 2.5 years when Dak was waiting for his contract. So we know how that is. The reason I'm bringing Trevor Lawrence up again, because everyone's talking about his contract over there in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And, again...
If you're here Sunday, we went into a lot more of this type of discussion as far as, why certain quarterbacks should maybe be getting the amount that they're getting paid or not. So
yeah. So it's just, my issue is not even how much he gets paid. My issue, if he gets paid before Dak, will that alter Dak's contract? We never really know with these contracts on how they could hit and how it might have made a difference if we had done our contract with Dak Prescott earlier. I mean, the Cowboys are saying they're going to extend them. I'm going with what Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones are saying.
I mean, in my opinion, whether the number goes up or down, every single quarterback contract affects Dak's contract in some way, which still means, back to the drawing board in some capacity. So, I don't know.
The Joneses, they love to see the leaves fall, and then that ups the price for some reason. They like that. Another quarterback who's on one of the short lists. There's only 4 guys that are kind of, Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, and Tua. Tua from the Miami Dolphins. He's, of course, with a contract in the air, right? Kind of still not, he wants to get that contract extension, but he was there at the voluntary Dolphins OTAs. So, again, he is slated to be one of the next quarterbacks to get a big payday. He knows it. He wants to get that pay. Now, he could be risking, like CeeDee Lamb, right? He could be risking an injury or something like this in these OTAs. He's there. He's at the Dolphins OTAs, even without an extension yet. So, right now, that's the way that they are currently in negotiations. But Tua said he was planning on attending the workouts even without a deal in place, an extension in place. But that's what I'm just trying to say. So I just said to you guys, Jordan Love was the only quarterback we haven't heard anything about an extension yet. Dak Prescott, who is barely hanging on to hearing anything from Jerry Jones. And then these other two guys who are currently in talks with their teams. 2 out of these 4 quarterbacks might get signed. Oh, shit. Before Dak Prescott. And that could alter Dak's contract. I'm curious what you guys think. Before that, though, big congrats to Rolando Rodriguez because of the man. Jason, is that Jason Renfro?
I do think it is Jason Renfro, but...
This is Jet Li 44
yeah,
now.
I
but
think he changed his YouTube name.
Yeah, so you had to tell me what to put it to there, Jason Renfro, but I'm so used to calling him Jason Renfro. For now, I'll call him Jason Renfro, and he just jumps into first place on the gifting membership board, and he's also jumps over Skeptical Fan.
That's right.
So
huge shout out to you. And of course, congrats, Rolando Rodriguez. Drop him if you got him, right?
Yeah. He's been in it before.
He has. So, by the way, let me go ahead and take a second here to shout out some other people here, like the man Seabass, representing much love.
Over
by the
everything.
Way, yes, is everyone feeling extra patriotic this weekend? Let us know what your plans are for Memorial Day if you have any.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, James. Again, not getting into the whole Dak discussion again. Just agree to disagree.
We have a minute. We'll get back into the Dak situation just for a minute. We know Dak gives us the best chance to win right now.
So
everyone knows that.
Cleveland Brown, what's up? Hello and hi. Let me see. Leaside Harold, what's up? Rolando Rodriguez, yeah, I think there we go. All right, we're good. So, by the way,
Muslim went way too early today.
So, Scorpio throwing out there that we should see better production from Cooks. It takes getting used to another quarterback, but Dak and Cooks should be on a good track by now.
Yeah, we're going to actually dive a little deeper into that side of things, so don't worry, we got you. Thank you for the comments in there, and you guys jumping in here. I know it's kind of a light night. Probably went too early, or maybe there's not that much news out there. I don't know. I see a lot of people with like light cowboy news out there, so I guess we're not wrong in kind of skipping a day here and there. Make sure you catch us after dark, though. That should be a lot of fun. Let's talk about the Cowboys a little bit more. So I just talked about the quarterback pay, the quarterback situation.
Yep.
However you cut it, however you slice it, when you look at Dak, I say Dak is easily a top 10 quarterback. I say top 7 quarterback. What does the analytics say of PFF? All right, where they have drops included in this and almost picks included in this, and they have too high throws and they have tight window throws.
So basically, they take into factor a few more of those little nuances.
Yeah, the things that some people love to point out about Dak that's good. Some people love to point out about Dak that don't like Dak. So they put us all into a big bubble. And Mahomes is the number 1 quarterback, no surprise. Lamar Jackson's number 2. Joe Burrow number 3. Josh Allen number 4. Justin Herbert is the 5th best ranked quarterback. Number 5 is Justin Herbert. Number 6 is Dak Prescott on this list here, with Matthew Stafford 7th, and then Aaron Rodgers, believe it or not, at this point in his career, at 8. Jalen Hurts at 9. And C.J. Stroud at 10 as a top 10 quarterback right now. Now, that's just an idea. Again, this is just a list. But no matter how you slice it, in my mind, Dak at his best is a top 3 quarterback. I think Dak at his worst is maybe right outside the top 10 or top 10 quarterback. So, for me, Dak is still worth keeping on the Cowboys for at least 2-3 years. If you're going to keep this team together, unless you're going to rebuild it, then you can let them all go, I guess. But Dak Prescott, as the quarterback for this team, I have no problem him falling into that area of $50 to $54 million, not over 55 though. That would be. I don't see how that could be allowed, based on the fact that Joe Burrow, bigger future, younger, and has been to a Super Bowl, even Stafford, who's at 53.4 right now. So 53.5,
I can't see how, we somehow managed to pay Dak more than that.
But you know what? We also know that other teams will pay over $55 million for Dak Prescott. That's a fact. They will pay over 55 for Dak. A lot of teams will. So keep that in mind too. So that's the way it is. Now, so will the Cowboys do that? We'll have to wait and see. It seems that the Cowboys are definitely, the front office definitely wants to keep Dak here, which, in my opinion, is the best thing right now for this team if you want to try to win in the next 2 or 3 years. And I don't mean just win regular season games. I mean make some kind of run with this, with what's left of this team and I'll say the stars on this defense and offense. So, anyways, as we continue with this, I do want to kind of slide over to, Brandon Cooks. And the reason I'm saying about Brandon Cooks here this time, today, we're talking about Brandon Cooks actually related to Dak Prescott and Dak's contract. Because Brandon Cooks, he was on the Gojo and Golic show this morning, was asked about Dak Prescott's looming contract situation and if he should be the future quarterback of the Cowboys. What did Brandon Cooks say?
Indubitably. Absolutely no question. I think, last year what he did the first year of Mike McCarthy's offense. I mean, for the longest, he was MVP frontrunner. And then I believe he finished second or third. And that was all done 1 year into Mike McCarthy's offense. I think he'll always continue to get better, continue to lead, and hit his strides. If you don't do it now, in my opinion, it's just going to cost that much more later because he's on a mission for sure.
Again, we've been saying that for a while. Get him signed already. Already we lost free agent guys that we could have added to this team by waiting this long. Now get him on here because we're seeing where the numbers are falling. Dak's falling around $53 to $54 million in that range per year. That's what he should get paid. If you wait till next year, you can bet it's going to be over 55 because somebody is going to break that $55 million barrier eventually. And then, it's going to be going up from there when the guys that haven't won it yet are still getting $55 million plus. So, again, hopefully this kind of slows it down a little bit and kind of, keeps things in the quarterback market at a reasonable level, which would, for Dak right now, if you look at Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow, they're the top two. I mean, Dak could be right there behind them, right there with them or with Stafford or right behind Burrow. And I'd be fine with that for 2 or 3 years and push the money forward and pay it off later when we're going to have much more salary cap available to pay that off. Even though other contracts go up, yeah, some contracts, some position contracts go down, most of them go up, but they also go up at the proper rate. They're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna overblow itself and outdo itself in the on the cap market. Mark Hosepian in the house, our sponsor of the week and Stream Boss with a $2 holler back to 100 points on the Stream Boss. What did the man say?
Stats are good. Do they take into account strength of schedule?
I mean, again, this is when it comes to the PFF. They didn't take in. I don't think they account strength of schedule for any of those guys. So it's just kind of just your statistic. And I understand what he's saying about statistics. I don't know if they account. I can't see how they would account for strength of schedule. But I do think that that many of those quarterbacks I named ahead of Dak and below Dak had some easy teams they played too and did well against those easy teams. Imagine if they did poorly against the easy teams. What would that say about some of those quarterbacks I mentioned? But either way, Dak is a top 10 quarterback, top 7 in my mind. And I mean, when he's at his best, he's a top 3. When he's at his worst, he's a top 10. That's kind of the way I see Dak. It's hard to find a quarterback consistently, year in, year out, to be in that range. In a draft, you sign a guy from another team and hope for the best, try to get him better. It's hard to find a guy that can do that consistently to good and or bad teams. Even if Dak usually does that against the bad teams. Is it Dak or is it the scheme? Is it both? We can go here saying chicken or egg.
It seems like it's like obviously we've adapted our scheme and then vice versa. So I think the more interesting parts are going to be those times where we do not change the scheme and we just kind of maybe make do with whatever we have, because whatever we have maybe doesn't necessarily fit the quote-unquote scheme they're trying to do or run or whatever. So that to me is I hate to say a bigger worry, but it seems like that's much more likely to happen than other stuff. So by the way, let me take a second here. Yeah, shout out. And give a big mahalo to Mark Hosepian. He has a $5 holler, which follows up, Jason Renfro's $1.22 holler.
Yeah, Jason in the house. I mean, Jason, let us know. Which one do you want? You may change the name to Jet Li 44. Keep it Jason Renfro. Let me know.
So
hit it up. Hit up the comments.
Yes, big mahalo to Mark. He said, "I'm sick of this kiss-ass talk. Yes, Dak gives us the best chance to win.
Yes.
Do you expect him to stay to say Dak sucks, no one takes strength of schedule into account. So, I will say, though, Mark, even now it's hard to take strength of schedule into too much of an account because we have no idea what the other teams look like. So, no, in the sense of...
Yeah, I know.
No, I know, but even then, again... I know some places take like just general records or team strength. You know what I mean? But I feel like strength of schedule then turns into a whole, like you have to analyze the strength of schedules for all the other teams as well in order to fully compare yours. I'm not denying that we faced maybe more teams that were mediocre or subpar than not this past season. But the tough teams we faced were very, very, very tough. So
look, I don't want to. I know I totally get Marco Sepian's point about what do you call it? Strength of schedule. Yeah. Without question, it obviously makes a difference. But I think every one of these quarterbacks had a strength of schedule that sometimes were better than Dak, sometimes were worse than Dak's, and I think that some of them. Look, Lamar Jackson. We can say that he had a great hard strength of schedule, but he's more of a running kind of quarterback a little bit, right? I can give you a negative about all these guys. Joe Burrow's banged up, couldn't win the big game yet, right? And he plays some tough games. He's won some. Did Lamar Jackson ever win any tough games? So Lamar Jackson, Dak, Josh Allen, did he ever win any tough games? Josh Allen, like really tough, like deep in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? That's my thing. So when I look at these names. Other than Patrick Mahomes, a little bit of Joe Burrow in there. Matthew Stafford pulled it out once. Aaron Rodgers. Those are Jalen Hurts got them there, helped get them there. CJ Stroud. None of these other guys. That's 5 guys. Dak is 6 on that list. If you look at if they got them there, how good they did. The thing is this, and the overall look at this, I'm sure if we look at CJ Stroud, he had some easy games. Jalen Hurts had the same games as the Cowboys have had, right? So. Easy games for them. I mean, all I'm trying to say is a lot of these teams also had easy games. And sometimes the quarterback played badly against the easy games, the easy teams. When Dak beats a team, if Dak is able to put up, 300 yards and 5 touchdowns on a team, that when the Patriot or when Herbert or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Jalen Hurts or
like their team.
I'm saying with these quarterbacks, let's say they don't do that. Let's say they only throw for 210, a touchdown and a pick. Mm-hmm. Like why don't we say, hey, what's wrong with these quarterbacks while Dak is able to whip the ass out of those guys consistently? I'm not trying to say who's better or worse. I'm just saying they all have tough games. And yeah, Mahomes and Rodgers, they beat these guys more consistently than anyone when it comes to the really tougher, better teams. But the other guys on this list. Have they done anything? Has Lamar Jackson proven he can win the tough games? Has Josh Allen proved that he can win the tough games yet? Herbert, has any of these guys proved they can win the tough games outside of Burrow for the most part? Of course, Mahomes. Stafford has done it 1 year. Rodgers definitely can do it, and Hurts did it 1 year. I'm just saying, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that Dak doesn't do it as well. He doesn't get big stats against easy teams, but Dak dominates the easy teams better than the most dominating quarterbacks in the league. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
It does. So, by the way, Mr. Jason Armford said you can change it up to Jet Li 44.
Will do. By the way, Jet Li 44 is now in second place after these drops.
Ooh, there you go. So, Trace Roberts said CJ Stroud plays the Colts twice a year.
Yeah, so, that's what I'm trying to say. They don't have a very tough schedule. Well, I'm trying to say is that the schedule isn't the toughest for a lot of these teams. If you talk about the Cowboys' schedule and how Dak, well, what about Hurts' schedule? I know he's going to probably say Hurts is similar to Dak, but what I'm trying to say is these are the top quarterbacks we have right now. The top quarterbacks are playing a lot of easy teams, too. And sometimes they don't do as good as Dak does against the shitty teams. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Is that a negative or a positive? For the quarterbacks that struggle against bad teams.
Roberts was agreeing with us. Yeah, I kind of figured, but sometimes tone can get lost a little bit when you have things written on text. So I just wanted to extra double check that. And I think I got before said the whole team, not just Dak in that Packers game. Yeah. So, yep.
defense had a huge part of that.
So, and that was in response to James's comment, who said, it doesn't matter. That game versus the Packers should have been the end of Dak on the Cowboys.
Dak was, Ceedee was lost on the field. Defense played like shit. Dak didn't play well. It was a team. It should not have meant the end of Dak, but I do think that if you're going to say the end of Dak, it's the end of the entire team on offense then. And what we put together here, because it's not going to be it then. It's not just Dak. And on defense, what happened? Like, there was no help at all. 0.0. And we got pinned on our own 2-yard line. Dak made horrible decisions, and no one could help us after that. And that's just the MO of this team, whether it is Dak, Mike McCarthy, or how about the Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones duo up there? Because I think that this is the sign of what we've been feeling the last 29 years. Let's be real. Let's be honest.
So, by the way, let me see. Fanny JP. Oh, there we go. Shout out there, Brandon J. He's in
saying
that
his membership.
Too, yeah.
He's saying his membership comment.
Yep. He said my birthday's next month on June 16th. I'll be 32.
A month away, and happy birthday when it does hit. Remind us again next month so we can hit you up on that.
Absolutely. So, and I don't know if that membership message blocked out Mark's $5 holler. I don't know if you saw that. I don't think it did. So.
Well, let's just say it then. What I'm looking here, I see Mark right there, bang with the 5 on it, and that. By the way, I know I've been moving the board around here in the back end. Multi Super Kalo is in first place. Jet Li, aka Jason Renfro, in second, and now in third place is the man Mark Hovsepian. What did the man say with the 5 on it?
You take the average. We've had the 30th easiest schedule over an entire year. Against San Francisco and Buffalo, we scored a total of 20 points. And against Washington, 2 times, 83 points.
Yeah, again,
And by the way, I think his drop just went through now.
Okay.
So,
there
perfect timing.
So, again, a big shout-out, a big thank you to Mark Hovsepian. And I can't argue with the fact that the Cowboys have had an easier schedule. Again, I want to reiterate, easy schedule, it's tough to say always when you're comparing it only to Dak Prescott. Because the Eagles not an easy team last year.
Yeah.
But their defense was shit. So Dak destroyed the Eagles. Does that mean that Dak, is a great quarterback? Yeah, we can say this about every game. Didn't they lose to the Eagles? Didn't Baltimore lose to the Eagles and the Bills lose to the Eagles? They all lost to the Eagles. So I'm just trying to figure out, it's just a team game thing. And that's the thing that I think when you look at this, and I do agree with the average, okay, we've had an easier all-around schedule. Then why did our defense play better in some of these games as well? Was it only, and that's what I always say this, because I do truly think it has a lot to do with this specific word. Scheme. Scheme makes a huge, I'm not saying it's the only thing, but it makes a huge difference. When you had Kellen Moore, and you had a very, very vanilla offense before that with Linehan. McCarthy, you saw a change from week 6 in the offense in Dak Prescott, and then from there on out for the rest of the season. Against tough teams, against good teams or bad ones. You saw a difference on the offense.
Yep.
So I just think when you get to the playoffs, it was a letdown, and it was a team letdown, not a Dak Prescott fault letdown. Dak Prescott was part of that problem. So I think the scheme, again, I've been saying this for years. You can't just put Dak out there and let him win you the game. Dak is not that good to do that. And I never said he was. But I think Dak is good enough to get enough weapons out there and you have to have a good scheme, a good coach, which you can see the difference, again, between a guy like halfway through a McCarthy season finally gets the right scheme get put on him. You see how good he can go out there and kind of take control of the game. But you have to have that scheme match the quarterback, and I think that's what happened here. Now, again, easy teams or hard teams, this whole team got to get better against the better teams. And Dak's part of that. So, look, either way, no matter how you slice it, Brandon Cooks wanted to say that Dak's worth it. He's the leader. He is, without question, the Cowboys should sign Dak Prescott sooner or later. And either way, he's going to get paid that money, whether it's here or somewhere else. Which, again, a lot of people say we'll go somewhere else. Well, right now, he's still got to get the extension for Dak Prescott, or else he's going to We don't get the extension. He will be playing somewhere on another team, getting that $55, $54, $57 million a year deal. Now, I'm going to stick with Brandon Cooks for a second because he did talk about the Cowboys' kind of lack of offseason moves. He said he considered that a compliment.
Okay.
Because he believes that means that the front office feels that the Cowboys team, the personnel, the players, we have a group that can win already here. So not making a lot of moves in free agency is like, well, we have the guys here ready to win. So, again, he added to that saying, look, it means that you have to work harder to prove them right. All right, so, I mean, that's true. But listen, that's great, and I understand and I love his viewpoint. But, again, think about that. Literally, you got to work harder. Every player got to work like a lot harder to maybe be a little better after making no free agent moves out there. So, yeah, it sounds like it's a great thing, and they have I like the way Brandon Cooks is saying and the mindset, but the reality is, you're not really you got to work harder to be better. Is everybody going to be able to work harder and be able to be that much better? In the reality of the thing, you can't count every single guy is going to step up. So, I get what Brandon Cooks is saying, but it's a tough situation. Tough. So, anyways, either way, that was Brandon Cooks' 2 cents on things. He also had a great turnout at his football camp this weekend. All-Pro Deron Bland, cornerback, also made an appearance in support of Cooks. So good stuff doing it off the field, as he always does. I want to leave Cooks up there again because, well, this is more about actually, I'm going to switch it up because, Michael Gallup left. He went to the Raiders, of course. We didn't pick him back up. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, those are our number 1 and 2 guys right now. But I kind of want to stay there at the receiver spot because, to me, you got a guy named Jalen Tolbert. Oh, and that's not Jalen Tolbert, guys. I don't know why he's there. That is Marquise Bryant. Jalen Tolbert, who I don't know where he is, but he was up here somewhere. Let me see. Oh, yeah. I have to find him. Here, give me a minute.
All good. He just ran off for a second.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, before that, remember to hit like, subscribe, hit the bell, follow us anywhere and everywhere at MyCowboysFamily. Of course, hop in the Discord link for that's in the description box down below.
Yeah, you see him right now. You see him. Number 18, Jalen Tolbert. He actually, former third-round pick from South Alabama, but he's the guy that's right now viewed as the front runner in that third spot to replace Michael Gallup. All right? And the strides he made from his bust kind of 2022 season last year, he made some good strides going forward. So, to me, again, another young guy in this group of kind of the depth of our receiving core here. And I think the other guy that's right behind him was last year's 7th-round pick, Jalen Brooks. So the 2 Jalen's fighting it out for that third spot. We know Jalen Tolbert got the advantage right now. Robert Prince said something when they were interviewing the coaches about the receiver depth situation regarding these guys. What did he have to say, baby?
We expect all of those guys to make a jump. It starts with, Jalen Tolbert. He made a big jump from year 1 to year 2, and we expect the same thing to happen for him going into year 3. And Jalen Brooks, he works hard, and he's one of those guys that's always studying, and he can play all of the wide receiver positions. So we're looking forward to seeing what he can do this year as well.
So you just heard it straight from the receiver coach's mouth. Both these guys are fighting it out. They're fighting it out to see who is going to be able to take, that third spot and solidify the 4th spot, because I believe the loser gets that 4th spot. You do have other guys out there like Turpin and other receivers trying to make a move in there. You got the new rookie as well in there, Flournoy. So you're going to have guys, but that 3rd spot, Jalen Tolbert has the head start, and it looks like Jalen Brooks is also in the running. Sounds like receiver coach Robert Prince is very, interested to see who wins that battle. And as we get closer, not just to mandatory mini camp in a couple of weeks, but then, of course, training camp in July and August. We got a drop there from Mr. Jet Li 44.
Yes, we do. It's going to take us a little while to get used to that. So I wanted to say Mr. Jason Renfro, but thank you so much, Mr. Jason/Jet Li. He said with his $2 holler, Western Conference Finals starts tomorrow.
That's right. Saw the first game today. The Pacers almost should have beat Boston. Would have been a nice little upset there. They blew it, though, in the regulation. Overtime, they lost. But, yeah, I'll be watching. We will be watching the Dallas Mavericks. And, hey, I got to admit, too, I like the Minnesota Timberwolves. I like both. This will be I think it's a very fun game that we're going to be watching. A fun series between both of these teams. But I'll be rooting for the Dallas Mavericks, of course.
Of course.
Now, let's go. Since we're at the receiver spot here, let's finish this up at one last kind of group of guys here. But let's go with the receivers before we get into the OTAs and what we're going to expect from OTAs, which started today, but this whole entire week. And it's about the main guy, our number one receiver, CeeDee Lamb. So before I get to him, a couple other receivers in the NFL kind of had some interesting things happen. So after 9 years in the NFL, Eagles wide receiver, and again, he was a former receiver of the Patriots and the Dolphins, Devontae Parker, decided to retire. He said this Monday night. He said he looked forward to his time with the Eagles. He was supposed to be part of their rotation. And he said he decided he wanted to spend more time with his children, more time with his 4 children he has. And he said, quote, "I want to see my kids spend quality time with them. I want to be there for them whenever I can." He's only 31 years old. Wide receivers usually don't walk away from the game this early. But he said he's ready and looks forward to whatever is next. Has no definitive short-term professional plans yet. So just a little side note there. Receiver falling off the map there, and an Eagle who was supposed to be part of their rotation there. Now, what about T. Higgins, who's still the only guy left on a franchise tag? He still has not signed that franchise tender with the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's not expected to do that by next week, which would make him ineligible to report to the Bengals in time for their OTAs, their mandatory mini camp. Remember, he can't get fined for missing any OTAs because he has not signed his franchise tag yet. So the only guy that's on a franchise tag and does not have a deal set up yet. So again, without being on the deal, he can skip the OTAs, the mandatory minicamp, because he does not have an official NFL contract. Hey, there you go, Riser.
Shout out there to Riser. Thank you so much for subbing it up. Appreciate you, of course.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Appreciate you, and welcome to the family. So again, guys, T. Higgins ineligible to return to the OTAs. He cannot rejoin the team until he signs. That's it. So he signs his franchise tender. If you don't do that, it's like a sitting out, but he's not really with any team either. He's also not a free agent.
Yeah.
Now, one last guy, which is very important to who I'm talking about on the screen here, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. OTAs coming around. What's he doing? He's been in talks with the Vikings regarding a contract extension. Unlike CeeDee Lamb, I feel like.
Okay.
But he was not spotted at the team's training facility today, which was their start of their OTAs. So, again, I think it was yesterday they started. So, no Justin Jefferson yesterday at the OTAs. And this is voluntary. Keep that in mind, guys. But when you look at these numbers, now you look at CeeDee Lamb now. As we knew yesterday, we knew this earlier in the week, we knew this, he was not going to show up to the organized team activities when they mix in the veterans with the rookies. So, let me go through this. CeeDee Lamb, not there for the start of the OTAs, which was today for the Cowboys. We knew this yesterday, but today officially he did not report to the OTAs. Now, some people I hear out there freaking out, what's going on? Oh no. Don't worry, guys. Number one, let me remind you all, this is voluntary. All right? They don't become mandatory until June 4th. On June 4th, it's mini camp, and that's mandatory. Now, the OTAs are voluntary. No fines are associated with being absent from the team for this. Unlike, and again, adding this to the mix, unlike on defense, the offensive scheme, the coaching staff, and again, there's even another guy. There is a new offensive assistant, quality control guy, a QR guy, a QC guy, I should say. His name is Steve Shimko. He's the only guy that is currently learning the stuff there on offense. But outside of him, being a coach, outside of him, the offensive scheme, the coaching staff, most of the players, in the sense of the play caller, quarterback, I'm talking about Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott. It's all the same or very similar when it comes to CeeDee Lamb. So what do you think about the fact that is he missing a big step there? Because the defense, you got a new scheme getting inputted in there. On offense, you get the same group of people with the same scheme, other than a couple new guys here and there.
On one hand, you do have, the same thing that's happened throughout other off seasons, right? Like we know CeeDee Lamb and DAK are working together on their own time, kind of doing their own thing. Although we've definitely seen a lot less of that this off season. I imagine mainly because DAK just, had a baby this off season not that long ago. So,
but he's been doing it.
He's been doing it. I'm just saying that I think we've seen less of it, the last month or two, just because normally by now, we would have seen. By that I do mean pictures or videos or talks or whatever, they're working out together and stuff. Now, I don't think it's going to have any real impact just because of the consummate professional as CeeDee Lamb is, and because he does tend to typically pick things up a bit on the faster side, but it could have an impact. I just don't think it will.
Again, and that's what I was trying to say to you, the fact that everything's kind of the same, that should limit the learning curve for him when he comes back into the fold. Outside of all the things you just said.
Working things in.
Outside of everything you just said, which is a constant professional, he's going to be on top of his game, practicing with DAK. Outside of those things, he's got the same scheme, the same coaching staff, and a lot of the same players and teammates, getting rhythm with. So that is, again, unlike the defensive side. Missing time on defense is bigger, I think, right now. Because you got Zimmer and a whole new scheme. So mandatory minicamp officially that's the one that is mandatory. That starts on June 4th. That's the date that really actually matters for a lot of reasons. Financially, for him, he gets fined at that point.
Okay.
All right. Then the next time after that's $100,000. For him, that's not that much, and he has to pay it. It's from the league. The other portion, the next big date, of course, is late July, which is training camp. He misses that. Then it starts the Zach Martin fines. We saw the Zach Martin fines last year. He was not in training camp, and they built up, and you cannot rescind them. So that's the really big one as well. But it'd be great if somehow, again, it's still not, just because he's not going to show up, he didn't show up on, what he still could possibly show up on Wednesday, tomorrow, and just kind of sit on the sideline and kind of just be in for the meetings and be in there for this stuff. But if he does not show up on Wednesday or on Thursday or this week, you should not really be too concerned, especially the fact that this is the offensive side of the ball and CeeDee Lamb. It's still voluntary for now. And DAK and CeeDee Lamb are working behind the scenes. So same scheme, same ideas, same coaches. It seems like that is not the end of the world, and it's kind of expected. If you're CeeDee Lamb, you're going to get your money, you got to sit out a little bit. I think sitting out is partially what these players have to do against the Joneses.
Yeah, remember, they have very limited options when it comes to trying to force the front office's hand into, giving into their demands when it comes to the contract. So, holding out is one of the few things that they still have, even if it costs them. So, Madman, shout out to you. Of course, Jacob Vasquez, what's good with you? Hopefully you're having a good night. Now, Fanny JP said, I'd rather go with Lance, as in Trey Lance, see what we have there, than keep going over and over and over with DAK. It feels like a bad movie.
It'll be a real horror flick if Trey Lance is going to be the starting quarterback. He didn't even beat out Cooper Rush yet. I'm just going to leave it at that. Fanny JP, it might be a bad movie. It's not just Dak who's the star here. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of other people starring that are making it bad. Not just Dak Prescott. But Trey Lance, it would actually make things probably worse. And if we don't trust our coaches already, how are we going to trust them with Trey Lance, our third stringer? Remember, he's not the backup. He's the third stringer. Anyways.
No. So, let me see here. Bad Intentions. What's up? We have Brandon J in the house here as well. So.
Hey, McVay's a great coach. That's why he made Goff, get to the Super Bowl. I don't think it was Goff is that great. I think McVay is the reason why. Get the right scheme, the right players, and the right coaches around them. We don't have that for Dak.
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever had. Let's be honest.
I don't know
Especially
if we ever will.
On the coaching side, we never. Players, we had some, but we ever had on the coaching side. McCarthy's the closest thing. That was in the middle of last season. It didn't start to the middle of last season. So. Training camp, we hear about CeeDee Lamb. I've talked to him about, I'm not done yet, about guys that are not at camp. Because there's one guy on the cover here, on the thumbnail, that's not at camp either. And that's the defensive side. That could be worse. So let me just say this. The OTAs began yesterday, on Monday, for 21 teams, all right? This is phase 3 now. We're officially in phase. There's phase 1, 2, and this is phase 3 of the OTAs. Then we have mandatory minicamp, a little break, and then training camp. So we're here at the end of this thing here, guys. Phase 3 of 3. Teams can now, here's the deal. Here's the rules. Teams can conduct a total of 10 days of organized team activities. Live contact is still prohibited. No hitting. But teams can now run 7-on-7, 9-on-7, and 11-on-11 drills. So we can, it's basically really learning the full scheme now. The full defense, the full offense. That's what's happening now in phase 3. The OTA portion of this offseason calendar is when things start to look closer to an actual practice than we've seen up to this point. Right now we've seen drills and work-throughs and little patterns they run here, but now they're actually doing organized team activities against each other. And that is where kind of you see what a real practices are starting to look like. Now, Falcons, the Commanders, they started their OT. Ooh, we got Zambro 0422.
Thank you for summing it up. I appreciate you.
Welcome to the family here at MCF. Appreciate you. The Falcons, the Commanders, they started the OTAs last week. The Browns, the Broncos, the Lions, the Colts, the Saints, the Steelers, the Bucks, and the Cowboys all began today, the OTAs. I think the Bengals are the final of the 32 teams of OTAs. They are starting next week on their OTAs, May 28th. They're the latest. But today was basically finished up all the teams kicking off their OTAs other than the Bengals. Now, I did want to say, what does this mean? The OTA yesterday, which was Monday, it didn't kick off on the field. Yesterday, we had our OTAs. It was a prep day. It was all preparation with a lot of meetings. So Monday, we had a lot of meetings. I wasn't going to go live to tell you guys the Cowboys had a bunch of meetings. But the practices this week were today, Wednesday, and Thursday. So if you're going to hear one of these 3 days, we're going to have media there. You're going to hear a lot more probably from our side of things. Probably tomorrow, so expect that. But Micah Parsons was not at yesterday's OTA prep. And Micah was not there at the OTAs today as well. The other missing man here, and we knew it was probably going to happen, was Micah Parsons.
We touched on this a little earlier, so.
But what happened? Because again, he was in Japan. He was kind of the phase 1 and 2 of OTAs. He was either working out with his own guys, or he was in Japan on both those phases.
Yep.
Now phase 3,
on his little NFL sponsored
Japan, with CJ Stroud. But the phase 3 thing started. He was back in New York, in Brooklyn, boxing. Right, we have some video of that going out there. So, why isn't he in Dallas now doing this? I mean, we know he wants to get a deal. Is this a message to Jerry Jones? Why he's not at the OTAs? So here's the deal. This is probably the most important thing. Micah Parsons was not at practice today. CeeDee Lamb was never expected to show up, at least until minicamp. But there was hope that Micah would be there by now at these OTAs. Because last year, remember, he did skip the off-season program at this point last year as well, and trained on his own.
Yeah, so
he was doing the boxing
that
thing.
Isn't out of the ordinary. That's more or less what he's done. So
yeah. I mean, last year that's what he did. But some reason the expectation this year was that he was going to be back in Dallas for this. So the Cowboys always know, the word is they know where to find him. Again, a hybrid edge linebacker has been kept in contact with while training with a local boxing instructor named Tony Mack, which we've talked about him in the past. People that know Micah Parsons caught up with him said he is focused on strengthening his spirit, his body, and his mind. So just maybe keeping a clearer mind, keeping himself in tip-top shape here. But whatever it is, that's what Micah is saying he's doing right now, away from the OTAs. So when you see his boxing video out there, he's doing some work with boxing, right? So he's out there pulling a tire with sand in it, probably very heavy, rolling it, pushing it. Even when he's tired, he still has to pick it up. Even when he's tired, he's got to push it. You see him doing the same thing with like balancing and strength and weights. One leg up in the air, he's holding a weight on one arm sticking out, the other hand, curled. I'm just saying the point is he's got a lot of different things. He's working on his balance, but his strength. He's focusing on a lot of different things. And I also want to say that he's incorporated the boxing technique whether you're using that for some of your pass rushing moves, or you're using that to kind of get that cardio, maybe even the upper body kind of strength and endurance to kind of keep going, right? Not to get fatigued in games, right? So he's pushing himself. He's pushing a sled with weights, then doing some boxing moves, pushing a sled with weight, doing boxing moves. So he is busting ass with the boxing mindset like he did last year when he was not there at the OTAs. Just want to say this. When it comes to Micah's boxing video, it's probably better than 99.9% of all the NFL, NBA players doing boxing videos, doing boxing training. He has good technique, again, than compared to most athletes that are not boxers. And, sometimes you see other athletes kind of punching. They look at their punching while holding kind of buckets of sand. Micah was much more crisp, fluid, and quick when it came to his strikes and his punching, in the training that he's doing. So, when you look at, I will also say this, Micah Parsons working out at a local gym is not the same as participating in the OTAs with the Cowboys on the field.
Of course.
And no matter how much he does good and he does well and he does strengthen himself and he's focusing on his mind and his spirit and all that shit, it's not as good as him being there in Dallas, especially with a new coach in Zimmer. So after this whole thing was said and done, guys, all right, let me just say for sure, he will be in shape. Micah Parsons will not be out of shape with this training. This will keep him in shape. But it'd be better to have him in shape in the sense of working out like this at the Cowboys facility in OTAs and still under Zimmer's scheme and learning where you're going to be, learning the different ins and outs of the scheme. So if everybody else is learning it, Micah is a little behind. So the important thing about Micah Parsons is where the hell is he? Like what's the plan for Micah Parsons? And there is a plan. Jane Slater actually was able to text him, and I want to know what you think. So she spoke with Micah Parsons through text.
Okay.
And Micah, of course, not at OTAs in Frisco, but said that he will be back for in-house and national media responsibilities next Tuesday, which is the 28th. So again, and he said he'll also be back for minicamp. This Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is going to be the same next week. Next week is going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And another similar kind of integration of the scheme and the players, the veterans, and the rookies. So it's basically, he's missing these 3 days, but next week he'll be there for the voluntary OTA. Still voluntary, but he'll be there for the voluntary OTAs, getting the scheme a little bit, more now under his belt. And of course, the week after that will be minicamp, which is mandatory. He will be there for that as well. So that's the plan for Micah Parsons. And like I had said and I had figured, even with him missing a little bit, he's going to miss 3 days of scheme with Mike Zimmer. Even with missing 3 days of scheme, I believe Micah is someone who can make that back up. And no need to panic, although like I still say, it would be better to have him at the OTAs than working out on his own in some local gym, in my opinion.
And Perm Bar, I know we already said it, but no, he's not in Korea still. Wrestling sumo wrestlers or
no, in Japan.
Like that,
He was in Japan and China. That's where he had went. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but he's been back in America now, in Brooklyn, and now back in Dallas doing this work. You can see the work he's put in on the shorts, but he's not with the OTAs. He's like Ceedee Lamb. They're both working on their own, not at OTAs, where they're kind of implementing more, not just working out and strengthening, but also the scheme is getting put down. So sounds like Ceedee Lamb might not be back until mandatory minicamps, but Michael will be back next week on Tuesday to get that scheme indoctrination and learning it well, hopefully. That's the hope there. So again, no need to panic. These are still considered voluntary. And if there's any player who will be ready physically, mentally, come minicamp, it's Micah Parsons. So I have no fear. I have very little fear. If it was any other player than Micah, or maybe Eric Kendricks, I think everybody else I'd be cool with. Everybody else I would not be cool with them missing a little bit of time here like this. But I think Micah can handle it, and we know Kendricks knows it. So
yeah, let's be real. Micah does get a little bit of Micah privilege, let's call it there, just because of who he is. We do feel better. We do let him, quote unquote, get away with something that another player wouldn't. And
why?
There's a reason for it.
Because he's the guy that will, get in that game and still make the play even without having those 3 days of OTAs. And I also think that people can make a bigger deal about this than it is. It's voluntary for a reason. And you don't have to. The players still learn the scheme even without those 3 days. That's my point. So Micah is going to be fine. He's been working out all offseason in a different bunch of ways, in a million different ways. So he's physically going to be ready. He'll be mentally ready, and he'll be ready to learn this scheme and kind of absorb everything. So when you talk about our defense, I'm going to talk about what you expect from this next couple of weeks of OTAs, this last phase. But baby, I want you to tell us about the defensive line coach who has to do some big things here for the Cowboys in 2024. Brand new coach, Jeff Zgonina. You'll handle this, baby, because he did speak. He has a raging fucking mindset, and I love it. He's from the Commanders. He's an asshole. He hates everything, and I like that. So, baby, give me the full context of all his quotes when he's talking about this defensive line and what we're coming with.
So he's talking about mindset here, specifically saying, quote, "I was fortunate the last 2 years in Washington to work with Ryan Kerrigan, another great former defensive lineman. I love working with ex-players. I love being an ex-player. It's got to be good, the yin and the yang. He's more mild, and I'm a little more of a loose cannon, they say, but it works. It works."
Now, what he's talking about there specifically is actually Greg Ellis. Greg Ellis, he's kind of the more mild-mannered guy. I think we discussed this the other day. And Zanina is a much more hard-ass, asshole kind of coach. So, but he's talking about how he's working with a former player like Ryan Kerrigan from Washington. Now he's working with a former player from the Cowboys, Greg Ellis, who's much more mild-mannered. Mm-hmm. What do you say about the comparison between both guys?
He said, just like Ryan, he didn't say much. He was the calming soul while I was the raging lunatic. And then, of course, he was also asked, had there ever been a, aggressive correction, basically? He said, yes. Every day, every 5 minutes, if not more. They've been warned. Hey,
that means that he don't take no shit. Constant correction being yelled at by him to the players, while Greg Ellis is kind of more the mild-mannered kind of guy.
Yeah, he seems like he doesn't appreciate comments from the people.
Well, I wonder what's bothering the most about practices.
So, he did say everything. I don't care about the rookies on the O-line. I don't care about anybody on the O-line. I'm the D-line coach. Solari's a hell of a football coach, and I've competed against him. And every time I've played against him, be it in Seattle and here, I tell my guys it's personal for me going against Solari because he's a hell of a football coach. My guys are going to go out there every day, and I don't care who lines up in front of them. They're going to whoop their ass. I know they're all teammates, but we've got to get them ready, and they've got to get us ready.
I love it. This guy is my favorite coach on this team. I've said this when he was hired. I said that
I really like the energy he brings, yeah.
I'm going to call him Jeff Z. All right, because I don't know his fuck. I got Zgonina, but Zgonina. The point is that Jeff Z, this coach, Coach Z, is the kind of coach we need to get some anger on this team, on this defense. Not just some cool, fast plays going on. We need to bring the dogs out. We need to get the anger out. And this guy will do that for this defense. I've heard a lot of great things, specifically about his attention to detail.
Okay.
That's why he's yelling. I understand this mindset, this attention to detail. He's on top of correcting things and yelling every 5 minutes. He said it's his ability to teach is like he teaches game-tested techniques the way he teaches players, and these things have been proven and it works the way he kind of coaches. Having NFL experience goes a long way from getting the group of the guys you're coaching to buy into your mindset. He can only yell at these guys because he was part of the NFL. Because he coached NFL players side by side with him. Him being a former player too. So all these things are why the rest of the players, not just Greg Ellis as assistant coach, but the defensive line, Osa and Mozzie and Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence and everybody on the defensive line will buy into him from the start and accept his kind of rough, tough-nosed coaching because he's been a player. He's coached with players, exactly. And they all respect him in the past. So again, I will say this: I wonder how his coaching style is kind of gonna fit in with the defensive line. Because again, listen to this. I'm just gonna say it like this: there is obviously different coaching styles. Out and dirty I mean, he was he was tough, but he wasn't like the way Coach Z is going to be.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Different, completely different.
I wouldn't say he was like buddy with the players either, but he was much more of a not
players
go
coach.
With, yeah, I would say go with the flow isn't quite the word either. Just very just overall, it seemed like he was just a more of a positive type of coach. And again, I'm not saying that one is like somehow better than the other. It's just that there's lots of positive coaches that also have like a lot of intensity and other things.
I like
that.
Azteca's comment. Z for Vendetta. That's Coach Z. Z is gonna make sure you are fully focused, and that's the thing. And I'm wondering. Here's my only question: with a tough, hard-nosed coach like him, with a switch from someone who's kind of nicer, like Out and Dirty, switching from the British guy, going to this tough-nosed asshole. How tough would that be for the younger players who are used to only kind of that nicer style? We'll have to wait and see, but just want to. I like his style, and you know what? To me, weeds out the shitheads. If you can't hack it, if you're gonna break under some yelling, maybe you're not made for the Cowboys or made for football. Even I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. Now, this is the end of the stream here. I have my last couple of, and I want you to tell me what you think here. But a couple of things we got to look at for these OTAs. Okay, very important stuff. When we're going to see these guys going, now 7-on-7s, 7-on-9, 11-on-11. So if I'm going to pick out a couple of things to look at in training camp to watch for, I wanted to give me your opinion too, baby. But kicking off officially, in the meeting rooms on Monday, kicking off on the field on Tuesday, first opportunity this offseason for the entire team to get together post-draft, rookies and vets, mixed in these OTAs, organized workouts and activities. Just want to add to this because that's what we're going to know more about this. The media will be allowed to attend 2 practices, and I have the dates. One will be tomorrow on Wednesday, so we'll probably be going live tomorrow. And another one will be on May 30th, which I think is next Thursday, maybe? I don't know. But basically, we're gonna basically get a little more of an idea of some key storylines, what's going to be front and center, given these off-season happenings or non-happenings, you can say. So the majority of the team returns this week, and here are some things to watch when it comes to the Cowboys. Again, the guys we're missing are Ceedee, Micah, and a couple others, but curious to know what you think about the fact that, do you still think CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons could appear even on the sideline during one of these 3 days?
I mean, it seems like they are going... sorry.
Okay.
Oh, good. But no, it seems like they are going for a complete... not ban, but they're making their lack of presence known in the bigger and more impactful way. So yeah, I think they're gonna sit this one out completely, and make the Cowboys sweat a little.
All right, well, and you know what? I agree with you too. But a lot of people are saying, while CeeDee waits for the extension, and Justin Jefferson holdout could end tomorrow.
True. That
could get CeeDee Lamb, by next week back in the mix. So he could be back at these OTAs, I guess, right? I talked about T. Higgins already and Justin Jefferson not reporting. But then I look at the other side of things and Micah Parsons. Like, Micah Parsons, you could actually see him maybe getting back in the mix if he really felt like he could get back on there. I just think that he's already kind of announced what he's going to do. He'll be back on the 28th, which, again, that does count as being back in the mix at the OTAs. So I do think Micah comes back. Not this week, but next week. We know he's coming back next Tuesday. He said that already. CeeDee Lamb, I don't think comes back right now. If he does, on the sidelines. But here's my point is, because for me, Micah coming back on the 28th of May is much more important. Is it 28th? Yeah, I think it's 28th of May. Anyways, I think it's much more important because, let me reiterate this, the new defensive scheme and system put in place by new defensive coach Mike Zimmer. That's why it's much more important that Micah shows up there sometime in these OTAs, at least somewhat important, right? So he will be there. If we know he's going to be there May 28th, so he's going to be there for basically 3 more days. I think it's 3 days. 3 more days of OTAs. I wish I can see it on my. There it is. Yeah, it's on Tuesday. So he's back next Tuesday, and those are the next 3 days of OTAs. So he'll be there for next week. So I do believe he'll be back there and fine. But how much will he be on the field and get the work? Here's the question I have, baby. What's the positives of this? What do we look for? Well, when I look at the edge rushing side of things, with no Micah Parsons, especially this week, you have DeMarcus Lawrence, who's probably going to get a little bit, he kind of got, everyone has to get used to the scheme, though. Remember that. So you got DeMarcus Lawrence going to be used out there. And then who you just say, next would be Sam Williams getting some more reps. So Sam Williams is going to get some starter reps this week in the sense of just walking through some stuff in practices. And then you're going to have more usage for guys like Viliami Fehoko, a rookie last year we didn't use at all. How about a rookie this year, Marshawn Kneeland, not signed yet. We'll see if he shows. But my point is this. Those are the guys you can still run and get. These guys will all get more reps. Chauncey Golston, Tyrus Wheat. Those are the other defensive edge rushers we have. So no Micah Parsons for a week. And we're assuming next week he'll be back. You got Darrell Johnson, who's probably more of a practice squad guy. But you have, you basically have, 7 guys, minus DeMarcus Lawrence. You have 6 guys that are going to get a lot more work on that field without Micah being there. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
again, it's not a good thing when that Micah isn't there, but that does mean that in his absence, others need to take over his snaps, and that usually does mean those players obviously getting a little bit more time as well with the coach to help develop them on an individual level to starters. Help kind of, continue to learn the scheme a little better. Out of all those guys, Sam Williams is the one that interests me the most just because he seems like he has the most to prove this year, especially.
Agreed.
So
and he has to step up, right?
If Zimmer can somehow take Sam Williams and make him look better than he was looking before, that to me is already a win.
I think the fact that he'll get some extra snaps, even for a scheme that's maybe a little harder. And Sam Williams, I don't know how much he's always in the game mentally because he makes a lot of dumb mistakes.
Yeah.
But the fact that if anybody needs an extra couple snaps in this scheme at edge, it's Sam Williams. So that's how you're seeing the positive here. Sam Williams gets a whole week of kind of pre-learning the scheme.
Yep.
Right? And again, and I want to also mention another name, baby, because I think Marshawn Kneeland, the rookie, I think he gets a lot of also needed work for a second-round pick. We want to see something from him this year.
Very true.
So Marshawn Kneeland, Sam Williams, they get the advantages here, at least for a week, maybe more, without Micah Parsons learning the scheme and in the system right now. So that's kind of my view on the linebacker. What about no CeeDee Lamb, baby? Without CeeDee Lamb, now who becomes the starter? It's Brandon Cooks out there in the field. And you got Tolbert and Brooks fighting it out for that second spot. Now you got our 2 and 3 are basically those 3 guys, right? Brandon Cooks is number 1, Jalen Tolbert is number 2, and Jalen Brooks is number 3 as of right now. So already we're getting, a lot more snaps from a different kind of mindset for Jalen Tolbert, which is good to continue his development, even if it's going to be for 2 weeks or into mini camp. Then you also have Brooks, who's really to me still a rookie in my mind, getting a lot more important. He's getting starting reps now. Even if it's early, starting reps as the third receiver. So to me, that tells me a lot of good is coming from, okay, no CeeDee Lamb. We'd love to have CeeDee Lamb in there, but we need these other guys to get a little more seasoned. And this is just the first, I'm saying little baby steps of giving him 2 weeks of scheme and routes and getting and feeling that connection with Dak Prescott out there as well. So, again, I don't want to forget about Kevontae Turpin, who's going to get some opportunities as well in the mix, right? Then you have other guys, whether we drafted them this year, like Ryan Flournoy, and then you have other undrafted guys or guys from last year like David Durden, who coming back from the injury. You got undrafted guys like Corey Crooms, Cam Johnson. You got a practice squad guy last year, undrafted Tyron Billy Johnson on the squad, Racy McMath, Jalen Cropper. So all these guys, we're going to get more reps. They're playing for just to make the team on the practice squad, some of those names. But the main names we're looking at here is good to see Tolbert getting different looks on the offense. And maybe he has to come in sometimes in the season. What if someone gets hurt? Knock on wood, doesn't happen. Tolbert's got to be number 2. Not that it's going to stick from now, but it's important that he at least gets the mindset that he can play some of that too. You got Brooks playing at number 3 and Turpin playing 4, you know what I'm saying? And the other guys figuring it out. The rookie Flournoy and others, figuring it out. But all these guys get more reps without CeeDee Lamb there, even if we're missing him for probably at least 2 weeks from this. So moving on from those guys. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that. Maybe on you have any thoughts about Micah or CeeDee Lamb not being there?
You kind of shared most of them, realistically speaking. So again, just continuing to take advantage of the fact that our younger guys get to develop in their absence. So, Madman throwing out there, Flournoy will easily beat out Brooks once preseason finishes. I like Brooks, but I like Flournoy more.
We'll see. I agree. I like Flournoy a lot, but the thing is that I think that we got to see it happen, right? You got to see him pass him up. That's not going to happen in OTAs. That'll happen in training camp when they start hitting and they start doing stuff in preseason games, and then we'll see if he can beat him out. All right. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's make sure that we see it happen rather than just say it's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Now, Lawson Treasures just said, we need an attitude adjustment. I hope Zim sets the tone.
That's what's going to... I mean, people already know. We've been talking about the fact that Zimmer's a bit of an asshole out there. Good. And his coaches he hired are also assholes. Good. Now, on
it definitely feels like they need a makeover, so to speak, let's call it. So, back to you.
Yeah. Now, that's just one of my questions. Another one is, what about the injured guys? DeMarvin Overshown and Trayvon Diggs. Now, the reason I'm mentioning these two starter-type guys and big player guys, especially Trayvon Diggs coming out here, I mean, will both these teams will both these players be on the field with the defense, or will they be on the sideline rehabbing from the ACLs? So again, the Cowboys right now, Stephen Jones said it himself back in February, that it'd be more realistic to see Trayvon Diggs and DeMarvin Overshown make it back in time for training camp from their ACL injuries. But it will still be interesting to see how much work they're going to be able to put in there at this phase of the offseason, at this phase. So do you think Overshown will be on that field at all?
I mean, I hope so, but I doubt it.
Yeah, Overshown probably still in the middle of working with that. I don't think they're going to rush him back out there. How about Trayvon Diggs? You think he'll be on that field running around?
Doubt it.
Yeah, so neither guy will be out there, in my opinion, in the OTAs going full blast at any point. If anything, I believe they will be on the sideline still rehabbing from the ACL tears from last year. Yes, I know that Overshown was like week 2 of preseason. I know that Trayvon Diggs was right after week 2 and that game ended in practice.
It was very close. So they're basically more or less on the same timeline.
Yeah, a couple weeks, a month apart, basically. So my point here is that, it's not about seeing them playing on the field. To me, it's more about, are they on the field and what are they doing? We know they're in the meetings, but it's been nothing but positive news about both these guys, and even John Stevens Jr., tight end on offense. You can throw him in the mix too, who also injured on the same day in game at Seattle in that preseason game as Overshown was injured. So he's going to keep an eye on him too. He's also ahead of schedule, according to Stephen Jones. So all these guys are ahead of schedule, but will we see them actually on the field on these OTAs, participating this quickly, I would say? Listen, the truth is, it's not out of the question. Think about last year. Terrence Steele, he had torn his ACL. Guess who was on the field for these OTAs last year? Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele had a torn ACL and was back on the field during right now these OTAs. So there is a chance that these guys could show up on that field, pop up there. You don't know if Trayvon Diggs jumps out there. Because Terrence Steele got injured way after in the season, way into the season, than these two guys did. So Overshown and Diggs could possibly be on the field. I'd rather the Cowboys take it with caution. But it's still a possibility is the point. Again, Terrence Steele's out there. He tore his in December, was back on OTAs the next, so these guys tore them in August and September. So I'm just saying it's a possibility. I don't expect it, but just something to keep an eye out. If these two guys are out, all right, if there's no Trayvon Diggs on that field to even stand in there, other than DeRon Bland and Jordan Lewis, you got other cornerbacks out there like the rookie Kalen Carson. You have, Eric Scott Jr., second-year guy, of course, Deshaun Wright at the end of his rope. C.J. Goodwin, who's not really going to play, he's going to be like a special teams guy. And other undrafted guys, Josh DeBarry, Josh Butler. So the guys that win here, and Sheldrick Redwine, now number 20, but the guys that win here, if Trayvon Diggs is not ready to go and on the field yet, and working into the scheme, second team, third team, they're gonna all move up. So now you're probably gonna see someone like Nashawn Wright. I would not be surprised if Kalen Carson as a rookie is out there maybe with some first team reps without Trayvon Diggs. The second team guys like Eric Scott Jr. also could be a first team rep guy and definitely work some more reps in the second team because you're missing Trayvon Diggs. So you're gonna see some of these like the guys that we need to figure out for the fourth and fifth cornerback spots. I don't know who they are. You tell me. Like, I don't know anybody who's confidently our fourth and fifth corner, other than the two, the rookie we drafted this year and the rookie we had last year. So we're gonna see these guys get at least maybe 2 full weeks, maybe 3 full weeks of reps on the field with the starters or a team above them, and maybe they get maybe we see some development by the time we get to training camp. So I'm gonna keep an eye out for that on the cornerback side. And then when you look at the linebacker side, and you can say Micah Parsons as well, but we're talking about Overshown here. Without Overshown on the field, who gets chance? We know Kendricks is running the show. Damone Clark is going to learn. Those are the starters anyways, pretty much by default. Overshown is probably the third guy. So who steps into that spot? I mean, I know Micah Parsons not there either, right? But I think a very good player that can, first of all, a guy who can stay in that spot just as a veteran guy,
yeah.
Damian Wilson. But I believe the Cowboys want to get a lot more reps for Marist Liufau. I think we want to see Leo Fowle kind of get more reps in there and kind of learn the system and see if he could be that backup to Eric Kendricks to eventually take over for Eric Kendricks next year. You got other guys, of course, Jason Johnson, undrafted. Buddy Johnson, last year's practice squad. Another undrafted, Brock Morganson. Brian Vaughn's another undrafted guy. So Damian Wilson, to me, gets a couple extra reps in there to get used to things. But I think the guy who wins the most without Overshown there right now is Leo Fowle, the rookie, which I think it would benefit these guys. Like I said, Nealand and Leo Fowle going to get more reps because Micah's not there and Overshown's not there. They're going to get a little bit ahead of schedule, which is a good thing. I think they need it. And again, being a second rounder for Nealand and being a third rounder for Leo Fowle, it's important they also get caught up and in the mix as much and fast as possible for this team. So, any thoughts about those two positions? At the cornerback spot with Trayvon Diggs and linebacker without Overshown, any of these guys showing up, do you kind of agree with,
I mean, my bigger question is if they can start working them in now, does that, again, bode well for them starting off the season maybe a little bit more like ready to go? Because no matter what, they're going to be a little rusty. They're not going to be exactly where you would want them to be or where they're going to be probably a few weeks into the season, right? So the sooner the better to start knocking off some of that rust, even if it is just like, preseason, off-season rust. I don't care. It still matters. Every little bit helps. And especially, I mean, almost Trayvon more so, just because of the fact that he is obviously such a big starter for our team. So big as in obviously the piece that he's, the part.
I look at it more as the fact that without him, we maybe get a better idea who could be that very important lacking fourth cornerback who's got the lead there going into training camp. And I also think it's major without having an Overshown, even though he hasn't shown much yet for us, right? Because he got injured. I'm curious to know if Leo Fowle can kind of come in there and get more reps and get help from that too. So I'm looking more for the guys, not that they're missing right now, although that's important. And they're missing maybe on the field, but they're not missing in the meetings. And they're listening. They know their scheme.
I never said that they're leadership or any.
Right? No, I agree. I'm just trying to say that. But the fact that now we have them learning in the meeting rooms, but when they're out there, we have the young guys learning more. Whether it's Sam Williams at the edge with Micah and Nealand as a rookie, or at linebacker with Overshown. I think that is a major help there to kind of, not major help. We want to see Overshown. We need Overshown out there, but we get to see a little bit of Leo Fowle ahead of time, maybe ahead of schedule. And the cornerbacks, Kason Carson, Eric Scott Jr. Can one of these guys show up and be the fourth guy? It's not going to be answered in these 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but it's going to give them an advantage to when we get to the training camp to figure out who's going to be the fourth corner or fifth corner, who's going to be the other edge guys of the rotation. I think that's going to be major questions answered for this defense. And that's not all the spots I'm looking at when it comes to this defense, because I'm also kind of taking a look at our second-year big old Mozzie Smith in the middle there. Mozzie Smith, guys, who is, obviously had a disappointing year last year. Let me pop up on the screen there. I want to see we're going to see in these OTAs tomorrow, we're going to see if Mozzie Smith has really regained some of that weight that he lost. So I'm looking forward to see where Mozzie is from.
Let's see what that also means, right? Because, again, if he's regaining that weight, does that mean that he's going to look like the way that he did back when he had that weight on him type of thing? I doubt it, but...
No, I mean, it's going to be interesting. How did he gain it back with the rehab stuff? Again, remember, he's still rehabbing from the shoulder surgery, so we're not going to really see him playing on the field or running around. We're going to see him probably on the sideline, rehab style, if we see him at all. So, but when we do see him, has he regained that weight that he lost? How much has he regained yet? He's not going to be participating with the team because he's recovering from the offseason shoulder surgery. But you'll be able to see his physique, and that will be the big storyline, I think, coming out of these OTAs. Does he look like a mushy 310, or does he look kind of like a solid built fire hydrant at 310? So that's going to be the kind of situation there. Remember, last year down the stretch of the season, he played at around 295. He was listed at 337 when he came to the Cowboys. And again, the weight loss, we know it's been attributed to a lot of different things, depending on who you talk to, whether it was his own choice, whether it was Dan Quinn, whether it was the front office, I don't know. But either way, they're trying to make him into a pass rusher. Regardless of that, now with Zimmer in the house, Zimmer wants him to be a starting one technique, a one tech, the big man in the middle. So he's going to have to get back to that 320, 330 pound range if he wants to make any kind of impact in the middle of the Cowboys defensive line and be a starter, an actual starter. So we heard Zimmer said he's getting back up there, hopefully good weight, but we heard it's going to get back up there. But he also said he doesn't want to be at 330 either. So we're looking at more like the 320s. And right now he's probably 305, 307, something like that. So we'll see where Mozzie is and how he looks, later on this week or tomorrow, obviously. Now, another major part of this OTA situation are the rookies, guys. The rookies. There's the rookie roster right there. Now, all these guys will be there. Let me just throw our drafted players with their numbers. You're going to see on that field running around tomorrow, probably some pictures, some video out there. You might see us post some stuff, so keep an eye out for that. And if we don't go live tomorrow, we're definitely going to give you the wrap-up of the first wave of Phase 3 of OTAs on Thursday. But Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe, how are they going to look mixing in with the veterans? That's a good thing to watch for, I think,
agree.
in this OTA set. These 2 weeks of OTAs. Still early for both guys, and they're still competing for a starting job on the offensive line in their rookie seasons. But I want to see the early development on both Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe. It's going to be important to follow this. Guyton is making the switch from right tackle to left tackle. It's not foreign to him. He can still play it, but again, it's still a switch. We want to see how he does moving from right to left. All right? There's still work needed with offensive line coach Mike Solari to perfect his technique and be ready to start by week 1 against Myles Garrett and the Browns. And you got to, of course, look at Beebe, of course, number 56, right in the middle there at center, something he never did in college except in practice. He's also making that switch from left guard to center. So while we know he's been practicing that snap situation for over a year and even more intensively months before even being drafted, it's still going to be important to see how Beebe snaps the ball consistently, the communication he has with the quarterback, whoever is the quarterback behind him, the offensive lineman, to make sure he calls out the blocking assignments and knows who's taking what. These are important things for Beebe to see if he can learn, master, and get done, even in these early stages of his career. So, he's going to be battling Brock Hoffman, who did this last year, and he's ready to roll. He's going to be battling TJ Bass, who has also been doing this. So, it's not a secure thing. Beebe's going to get that job. You got to earn that job. Same thing with Guyton. And we shall see what happens there with the rookies. I don't know if you have any other rookies you kind of want to see. I mentioned Nealand and Liufau because of the injuries or guys that are sitting out right now, not at camp, why you'll see those guys. So I think those are the top 4 guys I'm looking forward to. Carson also getting a little help if no Trayvon Diggs on the field to get more reps. Talk about CeeDee Lamb and Flournoy. So those top, 6 guys of this draft, there's going to be a lot of things to watch for those top 6 guys without question. And even Thomas and especially Rodgers inside at the nose tackle spot. It's going to be all these guys are good to watch. Anything that sticks out for you particularly other than what I've already mentioned?
I have to admit, not necessarily. Batman said, "Who's better than BB?" LOL.
No, I'm just saying Brock Hoffman knows the center position right now. And that is the de facto starter until BB takes it away from him.
Yeah,
and that's
BB has to outplay and earn that position. It's not just going to be handed over to him.
Yeah, and Brock Hoffman knows the assignments. He knows his teammates. He knows Dak's cadence. He knows that these are things you got to get down in OTA so that you can get through, those issues he may have. And then we get in training camp. Hopefully those things are cleared up. The last thing I'm talking about here, guys, is pretty simple because of the rule changes and all those things that went down. And I should put up. Do I have the rule changes here? I don't think I do. But I you know what I'm talking about when it comes to rule changes, and it is John Fossil and his special team situation. Who will be on kickoff coverage during these OTAs, and who's going to be on the kickoff return teams? Who's going to be returning the punts and kickoffs? We are assuming it's going to be Turpin, but what about kickoffs with the new rule in place? The new kickoff rules, the new wrinkle. Mm-hmm. John Fossil kind of came up with this whole thing. A couple of tweaks he wanted better. They didn't work out his way, but he still knows how to handle this thing. Probably one of the best. One of the lead proponents on this rule change this entire offseason, even speaking about it. So last week, he even spoke about guys like Awesome Richard, who's an offensive lineman, and Luke Schoonmaker having opportunities in the kicking game where it was never even a thought. You got to remember, guys, both these guys are more agile. Maybe they can kind of be utilized to cover or block and do these kind of things. Fossil's going to kind of mess around this 2 weeks here and in minicamp. He's going to mess around with different things on kickoffs and personnel on coverage and blocking. Coverage and on blocking side. So on the return team. So he's going to try to implement more power is what I'm hearing with close quartered blocking opportunities. So when I mentioned Schoonmaker and Austin Richards, on a kickoff return, you might see them out there on the field making what we used to do with our flag football team, a little wall of blockers. That is his little. So you're gonna be seeing some weird things out there, guys, with this new kickoff rule. When the ball hits, he's gonna have a wall of blockers. Guys like Luke Schoonmaker. You usually don't see these guys. You don't see an offensive lineman on a return team ever. But Austin Richards out there to form a kind of a big offensive line wall. Or offensive line blockers, not returners, obviously. So he's going to be. I'm just telling you what you may be seeing from the Cowboys. Guys like Awesome Richard and Schoonmaker may be stars of the blocking side of things on the return team on that. But basically, there's going to be a need. Is there even a need for speed on these units anymore when it comes to coverage wise? What about there is expected to be an additional returner under the new rules. So does that give an opportunity to guys like Deuce Vaughn, along with Turpin, right? How about Jalen Cropper, who could return kickoffs, and Malik Davis, who's done that, right? Maybe somebody we don't know on this list. Does he have a second guy on this list that's going to be returning kickoffs, along with who's going to be blocking for these guys, and what's going to be the scheme for blocking on kickoffs? Very interesting things to keep an eye on for this week of OTAs, next week of OTAs, and into the mini camp sessions where we have that's in the beginning of June, which will be mandatory and much more physical. Every week will get much more physical.
So, and with that said, guys, we have to take a second here to shout out, of course, the people making MCF happen here on the daily and the nightly, like your sponsor of the week and stream boss, Mark Hovsepian.
Yeah, Mark Hovsepian.
A big mahalo to him.
96 points to the man, Mark Hovsepian, repping that board. And hey, right now he's like up on third place on that board right now for this week, it looks like. So maybe he's going back to back. Maybe he's trying to go back to back like our 90s Cowboys. Big, huge shout out for the Cash App Queen, Gloria, in the house. Big shout outs to her. Her first time ever with the crown. Go Cowboys. That's what she always says. Appreciate you, Gloria. And the gifting leaders. You see the gifting winner this week was Skeptical Fan. So big congrats to Skeptical Fan. But even though he's gifted one membership this week so far, Jason Renfro's gifted 2. So he's in the lead trying to get his championship back there. if he gets it, it'll be 6 out of 7 weeks. Jason Renfro, trying to hold down that gifting board. And then if you look at the leaders this week on the overall board and the Cash App, yes, it's the same person. Multi super cockle. I always say, but it's Kalo from Superman. So congrats to you taking the lead so far after 2 days on here on My Cowboys Family. Appreciate you. Good luck. And to everybody on the boards, and see who takes the victory at the end of the week. But that wraps it up here, baby. Give the shout-outs and a couple of the last comments.
Of course.
With those shout-outs, if you may.
Stick Aguilar 04 said, Jalen Moreno Cropper, another Fresno State alumni. We're not utilizing him. Madman, of course, shout out to you, who said, if Mozzie's 220, 230, we're in trouble.
Oh, no. That was a mistake. 320, 330. Please, yes. If he was but forget it. He wouldn't be on this team.
Can you imagine? By the way, Jet Li 44, the man Jason Renfro changes his name up there. Lost in translation, much love, saying we need an attitude adjustment, and I hope Zim sets the tone. Bad intentions, shout out to you. Of course, that's Stick Aguilar 04. We have the man Seabass saying, I want more out of Sam Williams, and D-Log can feast. So, if so, Micah can be any and everywhere if these people do their jobs.
And blitzing from all different gaps.
Jacob Vasquez saying, everyone getting signed but Cowboy players. Of course they see that. Yep. Burton Barr, of course, thanks for being here. Fanny JP, take it easy. Skeptical Fan, much love. Brandon J. Let me see. KD, what's up? Hello and hi. Madman. Jacob Vasquez. Let me see. Yeah, that's actually as far back as it lets me go. So let me come back down here. Rolando Rodriguez, you also have a great night. So think that's all the shout outs, at least on my side. So guys, don't forget, hit like, subscribe, hit the bell, follow us anywhere and everywhere at My Cowboys Family. Of course, hop in the Discord as well. Link for that's in the description box down below. And MCF After Dark. Ooh, I wonder who that is.
By the way, if you want to continue the party side of, not the Cowboy side, the party side, I'll have a little post party Tito's Tuesday party here for a couple hours over on After Dark with my insomnia. So come join us over there, join me over there. The wife got an earlier day than I do. So if you guys can make it, come on over, subscribe to that channel, and hey, there's a lot of interesting stuff that goes down over there. Music, drinks, shit talking, sometimes drama, sometimes fun, sometimes it's not fun. Sometimes it's crazy. Either way, a whole different thing than this. This is just Cowboys. We don't talk football over there. We talk football over here. So thank you all for joining us for another one here, My Cowboys Family. And baby, let everybody know why we do this on the nightly here at MCF.
It's that navy blue, that silver too, and that star over everything.
Win, lose, or draw, good, bad, or ugly. Here on this channel, we rep that star over everything. And here on YouTube for almost 7 years on YouTube, here on My Cowboys Family, never forget the number one thing here, now, and forever. As always, go Cowboys. Let's get that 6 and beyond. Thank you all for dropping your knowledge in the chat all night long. All night. Thank you for that. Thank you also for dropping the love from above. Let me shout out those that did it. Multi-Super Cockle, Kirk Burning, Sco971, Jason Renfro, a.k.a. Jet Li 44, Mark Hovsepian, and Skeptical Fan. Thank you all for dropping the love over the last 2 days. We'll do the After Dark thing, and I'll add the love to that after tonight's After Dark. I say this morning's Thursday After Dark, I guess. Wednesday After Dark. So we'll get all that going, guys. And again, should be back tomorrow with another live stream, especially if the Cowboys do have the media sessions out, which they will. Anything big comes out, we definitely go live. And if for some reason we don't, we'll be back Thursday for sure. Either way, we'll see you guys back here soon as we clock out and drop out for the night before we can relock and reload for the OTAs continuing tomorrow and beyond. Baby, let them know what we got to do before we drop on out of here for the night.
We got to drop the beat.
And yes, that beat's been dropped. It's a wrap here at My Cowboys Family, wrapping up all the news, info, and updates for all the family members out there watching. Thank you for stopping in, and thank you for joining us for another Cowboys chat. Yeah, so we have all of the information that's useful, needed, and real. Yeah, Ceedee Lamb, Micah not there. We talked about each person's kind of situation and differences of not being there. Of course, Cook spoke. DAK, he spoke on DAK's contract. DAK also, kind of the DAK talk never will end when it comes to this contract. So other quarterbacks around him getting maybe extensions sooner than later. We'll see. We talked about it right here on MCF tonight. It's about that navy blue, always about that navy blue, that silver too, and that star over everything. Can't do this without you guys, and thank you all. Never forget the number one thing right here on my Cowboys family. Much love to everyone in the house. Don't forget to, again, hit that like button for the stream. Keep hitting that subscribe button and grazing the number of family members. We're almost at 37,000 family members, subscribers here. Keep doing that thing, guys. And, of course, don't forget to hit that notification bell. Set it to all videos so you know when we're going live on the nightly or almost on the nightly. You can also follow when we're going live through Discord. It's free. It's all the information is in the description down below. Of course, social media, specifically Twitter, X, at MyCowboysFamily. Follow us there. Thank you all. Stay safe. Much love. We'll see you tomorrow or Thursday. Either way, never, ever forget, Go Cowboys!
Monk on the beat.